This is Two Wolves, and it is the 19th, just barely, and I'm still reporting from southern Idaho. Truth is sadly stranger than fiction. You can't make this stuff up. This was a cafe in the little town of Howe, Idaho, until earlier this week. Earlier this week, all of southern and central Idaho experienced a terrifically violent and sudden storm came off the coast. Very violent thunderstorms, tornado warnings, and winds over 60 miles an hour, which is quite unusual for this region. Poor Howe. How could this have happened? Story begins with an article in www.firefighterNation.com. FirefighterNation.com. Video is here. This article is from the 17th. Video: Fire destroys Idaho town buildings. So what really happened is that a storm burned down most of an Idaho town. This was not a wildfire. This was a storm started a fire and burned down most of an Idaho town. Mind you, a very small and historical town, but nevertheless, after the loss of at least 6 buildings, most of the town is gone. Wind fans flames burning 6 structures in Howe. And there is a video here. I won't play it for copyright reasons and out of respect, but please come. You can watch the video. Idaho Falls, Idaho. A fire pushed by strong winds destroyed 6 vacant buildings, and they were 6 vacant buildings in the unincorporated town of Howe, northwest of Idaho Falls. No one was injured. KIFI-TV reports, and this is their URL, and on their channel, on their website, you'll find extensive videos and photos, a whole photo gallery about how this occurred. Again, I won't go there, but you can. The fire started at about 3:30 p.m. Tuesday at the Howe Cafe and also destroyed the Little Lost store. The fire then jumped the highway, burning another cafe. 1 house was evacuated. Rick Katsianis of Idaho Falls says he noticed smoke coming from the roof of the cafe and called 911. He says, and this is interesting given the video I just did, he says Idaho National Laboratory, INL, Idaho Nuclear Laboratory, right? Firefighters arrived about 30 minutes later. So they have their own firefighters and they came to Howe to fight fire. So that was good. Butte County School Superintendent Spencer Larson says the fire threatened Howe Elementary School. A dispatcher said no one was available in the sheriff's office to comment. A fire marshal was expected to be in Howe on Wednesday to begin investigating. This is where Howe is. I'm on MapQuest, www.mapquest.com. Twin Falls, Pocatello, Idaho Falls, Wyoming border. We know the INL is very near here. This is really very arid desert wasteland. Little tiny historic town, center of Howe. Right there. Okay, then NorthwestCableNews.com also covered the story. And again, they have a video, and once again, I won't play it. This is so sad. So this really is most of an Idaho town destroyed by fire. Storm destroys town. This is by Scott Evans for NWCN.com. A storm that made its way across Idaho Tuesday created significant problems for the small eastern Idaho town of Howe, about 70 miles outside of Idaho Falls. A fire broke out inside a cafe that's been vacant for several months. The wind then spread that fire to nearby buildings. Now there's not much left of downtown Howe. And mind you, there wasn't much of downtown Howe, and now it's gone. The fire that started Tuesday afternoon spread so quickly that there wasn't much anyone could do against the flames and wind, and that was, again, about 60 miles an hour or more. Now the reality of a town destroyed is just beginning to set in. Howe was a town that didn't have much before the fire. A handful of buildings made up downtown, but a tough economy forced all the businesses, to close months ago. The whole town of Howe burned down. It's been here a long time. I was born and raised here, so it's a big deal, said Amanda Teeter, who owned the little lost store before it shut down. The last time she saw her building, it was just fine. We had all the brands up there, said Teeter. We lost a lot of history with that store. In all, the fire destroyed 6 buildings, but the focus Wednesday, the day after the fire, is on what was not destroyed. When I talk about it, I still get shaky, said Lou Jones. Lou Jones lives less than a football field away from where the fire broke out. The wind was blowing so hard the tumbleweeds would catch fire and take it everywhere. As you can see, the whole town caught fire, except me, said Jones. With the closest fire department 15 minutes away, she and others were left to fight the fire by themselves. It was just like back in the 1800s, people grabbing buckets and throwing water on the fire, doing anything that they could to help their neighbors, said Jim Blair, Deputy Fire Chief, Idaho National Laboratory Fire Department. With winds pushing 60 miles per hour, the flames burnt the leaves off the trees 50 to 100 feet high, so a full-on firestorm. But Jones and her friends stood their ground between her wood home and the fire. Everybody just gathered round. There were people here stamping out hot spots and watering down hot spots and shoveling dirt on it. It was astonishing. The reason it's standing there now is because those people came, said McDonald. You could feel it, and that's when the sheriff said, "You have to leave, Lou," said Jones. Luckily they saved Lou's, said Teeter. Lou's, the school, and the church are the most important. So they were able to save those, so that's good. There's still a lot of cleanup to do on this fire. Many of the buildings continue to put up smoke into Wednesday afternoon. Once the smoke is out, the buildings will be torn down, with no plans to rebuild. Howe is a town with only 2 full-time residents, while 175 people live just outside city limits. Fire investigators are still on scene trying to figure out what started the fire. It could be days or even weeks before they get an answer. So again, this is a storm, and high winds really burnt down this little town. All we can do is stand together. This is Two Wolves Out. Thank you.